Hello and welcome to episode 493 of Paper Tuesdays with Mark Halpin and Michael Dwyer.
Nice of you to join us. How are you keeping?
Are you talking to me? Or I'm good.
Mark, we must start this show with an apology. In a recent episode, I think it was on Patreon, I said that I had a problem with bingo. I played bingo last night and I enjoyed every single second of it.
Really?
It was because, as you mentioned earlier, it was the local factor. Gary Malloy, my good friend, was the presenter and I was glued to the screen for the whole of it.
Yeah,
It was refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be the sort of local factor.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's a boring game.
Yeah.
Bingo.
What I love is it's another Irish phenomenon. We were talking about how our president likes dogs, but the other thing is we could have a global pandemic and we can just find something that we like. So we just, like, every parish has decided, let's just have the online bingo, and it's a great money spinner and people love it.
Yeah, we're a strange species, aren't we? Banana bread, bingo.
Yeah.
These things come out of nowhere and then everyone jumps on them for no real reason. Like, it's just, oh, monkey see, monkey do. Like, bingo isn't fun. It's like, fuck, why aren't we doing bingo? That looks great. Like, so they're doing bingo, we have to do bingo.
Yeah.
He's making banana bread, I have to make banana bread.
Yeah. And we like coming up with our unique take because thankfully, because of the success of Paper Tuesdays, I've been on Namaste. I've been on...
I was trying to think of a symbol for respect and I couldn't. I was going to do a gang sign and I was like, that's the wrong route.
I was on 2FM there, and I'll be on 2FM in a few weeks' time, and I was researching articles from Leinster that we represent as Paper Tuesdays, and I came across Durrow has Scarecrow Bingo. So every parish has to come up with something different, and Durrow has an annual Scarecrow Festival. So this little Laois village has just clung on to the Scarecrow as their badge of identity, and now they're even using it for their bingo. So,
do we have scarecrows here? I know you never see them around
here.
here.
No, they're not as popular, are they? No.
We can do it one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
We have a serious crow problem out on that wire out there, actually. So when I look back at these videos, we always seem to be looking out that window there, and that's because that's where all the action is. There's birds, and sometimes the dog is out there digging holes. Sometimes Mick is out tending to the flowers. Anything could happen. It really is it's captivating, and we need to start pulling down the blinds. All right.
But where was it before that?
The crow. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, there's like at least fucking 250 crows that come to my house every morning and evening. And Brendan is building a house beside us, and he has said that when he's upstairs in the house, he looked down to the back field and the crows were like doing a roll call. So there was like groups, like sections of different crows, and it was like they were going amongst each other. Like it was like a roll call, and then they all took off.
Wow.
Crows are really fucking smart.
Yeah.
Like it make you think then about like other people who say stories about like, they shot crows or hit a crow with a hurl or like acting weird. Like I knew a fella who had a pet crow once. He was like, he's older, like, and I think he was injured or something, but he kept it as a pet in his garage. And I wonder, does that like give him good karma with the crows? Like, does he have crows now looking out for him? I seen a crow. This is whole episode's gonna be about crows. I seen a crow and a duck fight today. In Arklow. Yeah, it was probably the most intense fight in Arklow this week.
Of course, what happened in Arklow.
But like this crow, the duck was on the grass, and then the crow came down and scared the ducks, and the ducks didn't even put up a fight. Like the crows were like, or ducks like, okay, we're gone.
Right.
Crows are bastards.
Yeah, Janie Mac.
They are the aggressor.
That's unreal.
They're the floods of the bird world.
Here, parish of the week, Mark. We go to across the water, and we go to Albion and Boone County in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And St. Michael's Parish there in Albion has held its annual St. Patrick's Day roast beef and sausage dinner. And for that reason, I think they're worthy of the Parish of the Week award, given the St. Patrick's Day festivities that are taking place in a virtual fashion this year. Well, they're making sure that the dinner will continue in a takeout fashion, and meal deliveries are available for those that are isolating in their homes. And an online auction is being held as well. And it's all because of St. Patrick. He got rid of the snakes here, and now he's bringing roast beef and sausage to the parish of St. Michael's in Albion. So fair play to them.
Why?
What?
This is again why? Why roast beef and sausage?
Yeah, did they associate that with Ireland?
Roast beef and sausage?
Yeah,
maybe actually. But then again, like there's a lot more you could go up higher on the list associated with Ireland before you get roast beef and sausages. Like,
we go to the Nationalist, Mark, right? And it's a good Carlow paper. Worrying trend as Carlow people searching for far right topics. I didn't think this would come out of Carlow.
Yeah.
I thought far right topics would be looking in the corners for something. But yeah, no, it's this research anyway just has found that Carlow is reporting one of the highest rates for online searches of far right and white supremacist material in Ireland, one of the top 3 counties, including Dublin, Carlow, and Longford. They found more than 9,000 individual searches from Irish users for far right topics during the 6-month period. Have you ever searched for anything far right?
Yeah. What is a far right topic? What constitutes
that's
a far
what I
right
thought.
topic?
Yeah, white nationalist and far right extremist search traffic. Material that included propaganda, extremist music, attempts to join or contact extremist groups, and common extremist conspiracy theories. I don't know why you have. I don't know. Maybe they just They are interesting. Common extremist conspiracy theories. Is flat Earth one of those? Ooh.
Well, that has to be an extremist conspiracy theory. Yeah. Is there any that you believe in conspiracy theories?
Well, what's a conspiracy theory? I probably have taken so much.
Is there anything you believe that is being hidden from you or the general public?
Oh,
that may be a truth that is benefiting somebody else.
Oh, right. I think we discussed aliens last week. I'm happy enough with aliens. I think there were moon landings, and I kind of just enjoy the flat Earth thing just to see someone get so excited about it. But no, I'm happy enough that the world is round. So yeah, what about you, Mark?
Yeah, I'd be the same. I don't really buy into conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I don't even really pay attention to what's going on in the world at all. But the flat Earth stuff is funny. Like you watch them sort of, what's it called when you prove yourself wrong? But that's what they do anyway. They prove themselves wrong by conducting their experiments. So if you watch, you watch them do these experiments to prove that the Earth is flat, and then they end up proving that
they're self-defeating.
Self-defeating. Any experiment they've conducted, this is going to show that it's flat. It's round.
Someone from Black Lives Matter in Carlow said that there were people setting up fake Facebook pages posting false allegations and saying me and my friends would be coming with our white hoods, started posting Ku Klux Klan pictures calling us black people. We're going to leave out that word. This person thought that racism has resulted in people being more brazen about it, and people are more open about it online. So there you are. That's interesting.
Yeah, Carlow is racism hotspot.
Yeah, I'd love to know what parts, because if Carlow town, all right, Carlow's fairly urban area, but you go into the wilds of the countryside, Ballin. I didn't think there was any racism there, only good chicken rolls.
That's all they have in Ballin, isn't it?
Yeah,
you never know.
You never know
when the sun goes down.
Yeah, speaking of you never know. You never know when you're posting stuff either. Sometimes things can be labelled other things. So in the Laois Nationalist, drugs labelled pillows that were destined for Laois and 4 other counties have been seized with the help of a sniffer dog. Revenue were delighted when they discovered large quantities of cannabis herb and related products, and the drugs were seized at Dublin Mail Centre, and they were addressed to places including Laois, Dublin, Galway, Kerry and Sligo. So the parcels were declared as pillows, sports shoes, custom stationery and wine tubs. Wine tub, I've never heard of that. Huh? Yeah. So Revenue said the parcels originated in the USA and that investigations are ongoing.
USA. Those pillows were not on the way to Helping Furniture, by the way. Drugs are becoming more prevalent, Michael, in our society today.
Do you think?
I think so, yes.
That's a very refined statement coming from Rebecca. I was struck by, when you were growing up, I don't know, in secondary school, you'd have to write about fibing and the druggie. And I never thought it was a fibe, I just...
Why is fibe now?
A problem.
Problem? Okay, yeah. See, I don't pass.
The problem?
we just took drugs.
The problem of drugs, but I don't know. Why do you think? Is it because it's such a commonplace item?
Yeah. Or maybe it's just... Well, no, drugs in general.
Drugs, yeah.
Drugs are everywhere. you think about anything that changes your mental state is sort of a drug. Like coffee is a drug, alcohol is a drug. Obviously, the illegal sugar is a drug. The cannabis is illegal, or sorry, all the illegal drugs alter your state of consciousness as well. And some of them, people are like, oh, this is legal and that's not. It's like, well, some are more dangerous than others. Like cocaine and heroin aren't the same as paracetamol.
Yeah,
like
Brendan Kelly kind of went with that. That's definitely a bee in his bonnet, you know, when he said that some people say, you know, but some people forget how rigorously things are tested. But
but they forget how fun the other drugs are.
No, Brendan.
No. Look, drugs are always going to be there. Are they going to legalize them eventually? Probably. I think because I think Switzerland passed a bill recently to make cannabis legal, or doctors can prescribe cannabis without seeking government signature or whatever. So GPs can just give it out. So I'd say we'll probably go that way eventually too, which is fine. Like if we can actually sell it and tax it, more power to us.
No, Another news in Wicklow, a golden eagle who has been missing for over a week has been found safe and well. The eagle, named Caelan, escaped from his enclosure in Newcastle last Wednesday, and owner John Nugent will put out a nationwide appeal in an effort to find his beloved bird. So he can't believe he found him. He found him south, a kilometre from where he went missing, and he jumped straight onto his arm and would not let go. I even had to go through a ditch, and he gripped my arm like he never did before. I don't know who's more delighted, him or I. Oh, that's cute.
Birds of prey aren't fucking puppies. This is all. Did the bird say that? Did the bird say, oh, and then I seen John and I was so delighted that the man who gives me the dead rats was back. Fucking hell, like people. The audacity of human beings is unbelievable. Our own self-importance astounds me. Fucking hell. A goat and fucking eagle.
Oh, I don't know what we're actually now what's come up. I thought I had another article, but I just have a junk email from Roman Violent who says he wants to conduct a dental survey with Navy Energy A Club. Have a good look at him now.
Roman. Nice to have chompers on him.
So there you are now.
The story holds up.
Which one?
His teeth. You know?
Oh, his teeth. Oh, yeah. Clapping between words, Mark.
Yeah, this gets me. Now,
was this Alec Baldwin's? Or is
no,
this
these are separate.
Okay, clapping between words. Go on.
So, have you ever seen someone on like a talk show or a reality TV show, and they're like, "You can't fucking say that," and they speak like this because they think that what they're saying is so important. But if you actually have to clap to get attention for the sentence you're saying, what you're saying isn't important.
Right.
Do you know what I mean there?
Yeah. I suppose you see it on game shows, all right. Don't do that, or
and you see, I've seen on social media people putting that meme or the emoji in between the words they're saying is like, don't like.
Previously, we could have just
photos.
And is that like in between caps lock words?
Yeah. It's like it's so condescending to the reader,
right?
Isn't it? It's like everyone else is stupid except me, so I have to put these claps for them to look.
Well, maybe they know that's what the algorithm wants, or
I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe that's the kind of
emojis. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's just a word of advice. If you want me to pay attention to you, don't clap at me. Or Michael, don't clap at him.
Oh, speaking of, thanks to Bree Brown, who sent us in a video from Today FM, Dermot and Dave. They had a video with Elon Musk's mother, and she confirmed that the child's name is X. So we can spread the word. You can just pronounce it X.
But it's spelled.
Yeah. Come for your.
I can imagine him say it. You do a very good Elon impression, actually. You did it last time. Yeah, I should have complimented, but I didn't think of it that time. You were the aliens. You're like, if the aliens come.
New evidence. Yeah.
New evidence. He's American, isn't he?
Yeah, but Dutch roots and very a Dutch way of thinking. You know, the Dutch were great. I think they're very enterprising back in the day. There was a yeah. Anyway, that's another story
routes.
we could save for another day. Yeah, trade routes and their ability. Sure, didn't they? The opium crash. There was a lot of them had opium farms,
and they gave it to China or something, was it?
Yeah, something. How opium and the. Oh, I'm definitely not explaining any of this right. The flowers,
the poppy seeds.
Poppy seeds, yeah.
That's how they make heroin. I think that's how they made opium as well.
Oh, right. So there's the connection. Oh, yeah. Anyhow, is nostalgia worthwhile?
I don't really know how to expand much on this, but I just thinking, like, is it worth your while looking back on the past and how great it was at all? Like, you see people posting throwbacks of when they were on holidays or when we were allowed to do stuff in previous years when there was no COVID and just sitting there thinking to yourself about how great your teenagers were. Like, is it worthwhile? Like, obviously, it was fun that you had teenagers and stuff, but if you're spending your 20s thinking about your teens, are you not wasting your 20s?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd have to agree to a certain extent, all right, because if you look back too much, then you kind of become over-identified maybe with the past, and if you forget that you have the future, you're probably better off focusing on the future, but not overly focusing on the future either, maybe, if that makes sense, in that you don't want to become obsessed with the future because then you're over-obsessed with a goal.
You're not enjoying the present then?
Yeah.
See, because it's hard to tell, isn't it? Because there's so much like advice out there. It's like, learn from the past, but plan for the future.
Yeah.
But live in the present.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do all those fucking things.
No.
Like, I just want to watch YouTube and relax.
I have to say that reminds me of something that I came across with Naval Ravikant, which would be the recommendation of the week. He has this, I don't know, he has a podcast anyway, and he sends out the transcript via email. So this popped into my inbox today, and I liked it. He said that happiness is more like poetry than algorithms. And the reason is that if you read 50 poems by the same poet and try to map them out, it doesn't, you'll miss the point by their words or their sentences. The important thing is to ponder the overall thought process and the message. So I think that's what's demanded of us when we think of how to navigate our lives, how to treat the past, present, and future. To take. Yeah, I don't know, because like you, Mark, I love self-improvement, and I soak myself in a warm bath of it every day, really. That's probably vivid language. But if you overdo it, then you're missing the point. You're not seeing the wood from the trees, as that expression you gave me a while ago. But like, it does, I find, connect you more to the present, and
to look at it all open, an overall thing. That even the present will be the past someday.
Yeah.
So it's like one big song, and you're like, well, not a song, but like your life is a field, and you're in a helicopter looking down on the field.
Yeah. Okay.
But you also live in the field. You're also flying the helicopter.
Yeah.
I seen the video of someone getting killed by a helicopter the other day. Awful. He was walking down a hill, like a helicopter rotator, and he ran down the hill, and it hit him like here.
Oh. Alec Baldwin's wife, Hilaria.
So this is on a podcast I seen, because you brought up something about Alec Baldwin last week. His wife, her name is actually Hillary, not Hilaria, right. And she claims to be Spanish, but she isn't. Right. She puts on a Spanish accent, and there's videos of her on YouTube. Anyone who watches the Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura, that's where I seen it on the clips of that. And she is in a video doing a cooking video. And there's a cucumber on the table, and she's like talking about the ingredients. Goes, and how do you say in English cucumber? And she's lived in America her whole life, grown up speaking English. Her name's Hillary.
That's gas.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like what fame can do to you, I suppose. Like,
right, you need a hobby.
Yeah, because I don't think she was famous beforehand. She married Alec Baldwin. I think she was just a regular. She's from a wealthy family or whatever. Yeah. And I think she might have gone on like her summers in Spain or whatever.
Yeah.
And she just is now living this persona of being a Spanish person.
Yeah.
But she's not. Like, how do you say in English? Microphone.
That's gas.
Yeah.
And did you know that one of Alec Baldwin's children is called Ireland?
Ireland?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I tried to look on our Wikipedia page for any connection to Ireland, but no, none really. There we are now. Causes, or today we speak less about death than previous generations. That was a quote from psychiatrist Ger Leacy that I read recently. And I was surprised. He didn't have a footnote, but I don't know. Can you really say, do we speak less about death than previous generations? Can we really say for sure? We probably treat death treat death differently, but like I'm sure every generation treats death differently. So
yeah, I definitely do. I think I talk about death way too much. I'm
well, Stoicism is all about death, though, isn't it? And like you sample a bit of Stoicism every day, so like you're going to meet that head on.
Yeah, memento mori is a big philosophy of it. You see it the whole time in Stoicism, and it means something along the lines of the death is imminent, basically. Death, death, that's how you spell it, is imminent. So like every day you sort of remind yourself that this is temporary, you're going to die, so there's no point in being upset anyway.
Yeah.
But I think we do view death differently because we live longer maybe than other generations.
Yeah, that is true. That is true, because there's something about it. Yeah.
It happened more often, maybe, or it was more well known that you weren't going to live forever. Whereas now we don't realize it as much because death is probably less common than it was.
Yeah,
we experience it less, and I think we view death wrong as well, for the most part. Like it happens to everyone, and it's going to happen to everyone. Unfortunately, it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to you, it's going to happen to my dog, it's going to happen to my whole family, your whole family, sorry. But like everybody is going to die eventually. So like, and it's the only thing that's actually certain. So why are we upset about it? It's like everything else is variable.
Yeah.
Death is going to happen. Yet that's what we worry about, the thing that is definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
And we do all this other shit to distract ourselves from it. But I don't think it's bad we do other shit to distract ourselves from it. I think that's what you should sort of aim for, is to find something so engaging that you forget you're going to die.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. That's like hitting a home run when you land on a quote like that. Just, boom. That's great. 10 out of 10. Here, since we're on death, we'll just stay with a little bit, because Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I listened to the audiobook recently after numerous recommendations, and it was really eye-opening. And I just was struck by how people reacted to the survivors of the concentration camp. We've suffered too. We didn't know that they were doing that to you. You know, like,
who said that?
Like these were reactions that like Victor and other people that survived the concentration got when they went back to their normal lives. Like it wasn't a straightforward assimilation back into society. It was more they were met with, you know, sure, we've had it bad too, you know, because I'm sure it was bad, but like they probably didn't understand the depth of how gruesome those concentration camps were.
Yeah. It's probably better to know real suffering, isn't it, than to have superficial suffering like the people on the outside had, where, we suffered, but like you didn't really. Whereas I'd say to people who are in the camp, are like, we actually did, and we made it through. And like those people don't really understand what it is to suffer, so they probably will suffer indefinitely, because I'd say the people who are in concentration camps appreciate more what it's like to not be suffering. Like they're living the lives of the people on the outside now, whereas the people on the outside now think their life is hard when it's really not in comparison. So that they're able to appreciate things better.
Like these are dark. Like sure, even our subject matter is dark, but that Man's Search for Meaning was dark, and Gulag Archipelago, which I'm currently listening to the audiobook as well. Yeah, that is dark. Probably darker because just like the way it's structured, it's more an account of what went on in Soviet Russia, whereas the other one is a personal journey, a man's search for meaning, whereas this Gulag Archipelago captures everything that was going on in Soviet Russia with in the gulags, and how just it is dark. How actually the author's purpose is to show how the human heart is. There's a thin line that runs down it between good and evil, and you know how thin that line is. And to be honest, so even though the subject matter is, you would wince from reading it, it like earlier, it makes you appreciate everything a whole lot more. There's no way that you can whinge about the little trivial matters of life when you've seen what other people can do. And then if you can preserve your spirit and preserve your own outlook on life, then you'll probably enjoy a richer satisfaction from life, maybe. Probably, like, I'm still only in the early stages of listening to it, but like, that's my initial thoughts, and I hope that they do make some form of sense.
Oh, they do. That's a very good explanation. I've never read the book. I mean it, it's very heavy, like, apparently, isn't it? Like, it's an important message, that one, that the line of good and evil is actually in yourself. And how you conduct yourself and how you view the world. And it's sort of lost on our generation, I think. And it's definitely lost on me when I was younger, until like, you know, you get to this age or whatever, and you start looking into what is the proper way to actually live your life. And maybe it's not about blaming your circumstance or what's happened to you, but it's more about how you respond to it. That's how meaningful your life will become, and your baseline level of happiness. And the happiness isn't to just think positively and ignore anything that's bad or upsets you or that's difficult. It's like, that stuff exists. What is happiness is sort of how you can adapt and overcome those things. So you have to acknowledge it, unfortunately. Like, it's not all just, you know, self-love and here's my love handles. I love myself unconditionally. That is such a fucking bullshit. And it's like, it's the wrong message to give to people, I think.
Like,
you shouldn't just love yourself. Like, you know what, like, you steal money from your mother and you eat your feelings away, but it's like, I love myself anyway. That's just a lie. Like, like, I agree, but then I think the message of, maybe it's just because I'm so hippy dippy anyway, but like, the idea that you kind of, I don't know, sometimes I'd forget the message that, you know, you can read all you like, Michael, but at the end of the day, you have to remember that, you know, you have to love yourself. Because there's Maya Angelou, that's from Tim Ferriss's on Friday. 5 Friday.
Yesterday's one. If a naked person is offering you a shirt, you know, there's something wrong. So, like, if you don't have the shirt on yourself, if you're not giving yourself enough love, well, then you're not fit to help anyone else. So while I understand that, you know, we can be too quick maybe to just give us the love and forget our own actions, we need a bit of the love too, and the positive self-regard and all that. So I don't know, that's the clash that we're probably not going to resolve in this little podcast of ours, but we might be able to get to the bottom of the world of journalism. And we're about to be joined by one Cathy Lee of the Gory Guardian. Cathy, thanks so much for taking the time out of your Saturday afternoon to sit down with us.
Thank you, Cathy.
No problem. Very happy to be here, lads. Big fan of the show, so thanks for having me on.
Good stuff. Cathy, you were just telling us about the Christmas FM stuff. So were you actually a presenter on Christmas FM in last year?
No, not last year. No,
right.
I did get offered, but I decided not to, because it was pretty busy at work at the time, so I just declined. But no, they're really good lads now in Christmas FM, so I think I'll definitely keep all those contacts I made, because it's brilliant. Like, what they do every year is fantastic, you know.
Yeah. No, just images of you, you know, taking notes at council meetings and then saying driving home for Christmas, and great.
I know. I had this T-shirt that I had to wear, because you have to literally get in the zone. Like, even I was doing one reporting, and it was back in, oh God, it was like, could have been November or even October, and you had to pretend it was Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and you literally just have to get in the zone. So I was wearing this sort of, what was it now? Let me think. Flamenco bells, and it was these flamencos on my T-shirt, and they actually had bells, and I was like, okay, this is it. So I was like doing my stuff, and the bells were jingling and all the rest. It was exactly what you were looking for, like, so you just have to get in the zone, honestly.
Yeah
Whatever works.
Good stuff. Cathy, you've been in the Gory Guardian now at the helm for the last 2 or 3 years. What has it been like to look in on a community, because you're not from Gory originally, so what has it been like to come in as an outsider and immerse yourself in what's going on in North Wexford?
Honestly, I have no words to describe it, only fantastic. Like, I can't get over how good it's gone, because I just think I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I obviously had been to Gory before, spent a lot of time down there when I was a kid. Even my dad and I would just go down for the day's shopping and spend the day there, maybe go out to Courtown. I remember going to Courtown when there was ice skating out there, so that was obviously a while ago. But I just, when I got in, I knew it was just on me. Everything was on me. I had to fill the paper every week, so I said, right, I'm going to throw myself into this. But I will say, like, Ger Leacy and Fintan Lamb were brilliant at the start, because they brought me, like, I remember it was the second day and Fintan Lamb came into the office and I, of course, didn't know who he was. And he was like, right, we're going out here and you're meeting this, that and the other. And I was like, who are you? Like, and anyway, yeah, so he brought me around and we met various people around the town, and like, it was brilliant. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, as much as I was nervous, obviously, with my first kind of, maybe, I suppose, my biggest responsibility to date, you know, but within the first month, I think I found my feet and I was delighted to be there, because like, it was literally just the welcome I got was unbelievable. And I think the local elections were there in May, so I kind of knew myself. I came in the end of March 2019, so I had to get ready for that. I had to meet people, I had to, you know what I mean? So I'm glad there was no pandemic at the time, because I needed to be on the ground. So yeah, it was great.
When you bring up someone like Fintan Lamb there, like, Fintan is a wordsmith and such a professional, and like you mentioned, you're big into writing and you have your own blog. I know it was more active a few years ago, but like, and you were involved in the Writers' Society in your college, you were chair of that. So when you look at what I'm trying to say is, like, someone that's interested in writing and someone like, how does that translate into local journalism? Like, because local journalism, a lot of it is humdrum, just, you know, the local notes or whatever. So what is it that lies at the heart of journalism in local newspapers?
I think, like, storytelling is the thing. Like, I obviously knew from maybe young age that I was good at writing, and I wanted to do something that would allow me to write every day, but also have my own creative part at the back of it as well. And I like the way you can kind of differentiate between the two, but there is a bit of crossover. So like, sometimes when you get to tell a story in a way that you can maybe be a bit poetic about it, or kind of go at it from a different angle, like, you know, there is room for that in a local paper. And I think when it gets too rigid, you nearly lose people, because they want to be able to, like, you know, see something in the local paper that they won't see anywhere else, because it's so unique, you know. So I just, like, I've always had an interest in local journalism, and it's just a brilliant platform, like, and I think, like, obviously you do have to do it, say, more mundane stuff in terms of council meetings and fill the community notice board every week, like, that has to be done. But I think once you can kind of tick those jobs off and then concentrate on the other kind of maybe bigger stories, or like kind of stories that are maybe harder to reach, that's where you get your reward, because, you know, maybe an interesting interview, or like somebody who's been cocooning or something like that, and what they might have got up to. Like, even I'm thinking about following up on a story. I've heard about this little girl who adopted a couple of chickens during the lockdown, and she's been raising her chickens and she's named them after Harry Potter characters. So like, I just think that's class. Like, I mean, so where will you get it? Only in local paper, like, so.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So you're constantly have your ear to the ground, like, you're looking out for bits and bobs. Like, how do you come up with a story like that, or like what?
Yeah, it really can depend. Like, as in that story now, I recently was judging an essay competition for Gore Youth Needs, and she just mentioned in their piece about the chickens, and I was like, unfortunately she didn't win the competition, but I was like, that's still a story in it, so I will kind of follow that up, you know, because you just, as much as you say when you're not in work, you take your time out, and, you know, but in fairness, like, as a journalist, you just have your eyes on all the time. And even if, say, you're like consuming other news media, you might think of an idea that would have, say, a local angle on that as well. So yeah, I have a story in today's paper about three brothers who bought their mother a car, and they did this, they recorded her reaction, like, and I spoke to her, and she was just amazed. Even the fact that I'd phoned her and just that she got to talk about this, she just thought it was all brilliant. And then Ger Leacy went up and got a picture of her with her new car. And it's just like those little stories, like, as much as, you know, maybe they won't be picked up by the national papers, I just think that's such a unique offering, and it really means something to people. Like, for me, the best compliment you can get is when somebody maybe texts you after an article, or gives you a call or an email and says, like, you really captured what I wanted to say there. You know, it came out so much better than I thought it was going to come out. Like, how did you do that? I just think that's the reward, like, you know.
Yeah. So it's your interest in people, really, and when you mentioned storytelling, but like, I mean, fair from your response there, like, you know, it's the child with the ducks, it's the woman with the car, you know, it's the person really that lies at the heart of the story.
Yes, I think, like, human interest is definitely my strong point, and I just love talking to people, you know, and that's always, I maybe didn't really notice it when I was younger, but, like, you know, the way your parents tell you not to talk to strangers, like, that was not me, you know. And I would just talk to anyone. And even I remember telling friends of mine I was going to study journalism and stuff. And that was one of the first things I said to me, like, obviously that suits you. Whereas you don't see that yourself until you really think about it. So like all those personal stories, they're the ones that stay with you, you know, like you'll remember bits and bobs from a council meeting. And I'm sorry to be dissing council meetings, like they're absolutely fine. But it's those stories that stay with you. So that's what I really like to kind of pursue, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any memorable stories, or what's been your biggest highlight since starting at the Gorey Guardian?
Gosh, that's a good one. Yeah, like there's a couple of kind of series that we did that I really liked. So we did like an environment series summer of 2019. So that was quite good. I kind of took a bit of a lead role on that one. And then in the pandemic, I did a mental health series. So it was kind of stuff that you can maybe prolong a bit and get more out of. Like, I think they're great, but obviously kind of there's been brilliant ones-off ones as well. Like, do you remember that fella in the dinosaur costume that was going around Gorey? Yeah, so I tracked him down.
Yeah, he wouldn't give our interview. Yeah.
Yeah, like he did. Like, I didn't use his name. Obviously, I know his name, but he wanted to remain anonymous, and like did this big article with him and all the rest. And even how I tracked him down was a bit like CSI stuff, you know. And even like he sent me a voice note, and even I sent it on to the lads in work, and they were like, he doesn't sound like real. And I'm like, obviously it's real, you know. But yeah, no, it was just hilarious. So that really stood out to me because it was something that we needed as well, because it was just at the start of the pandemic and everyone was just up the walls with fear. So that was just something to kind of break the tension, you know.
Yeah, I'd have loved if that was like a Spider-Man situation where the editor was like, find me the dinosaur.
No.
But I see photos of the dinosaur outside deals.
Exactly. Oh, lads, no. Yeah. Obviously, there's been serious articles that I've enjoyed working on as well. But I think like one story that really, it's kind of followed me, I suppose. When I was 16, I did an article when I was in transition year for actually the People newspapers, but obviously the Wicklow People, where I'm from here in Wicklow. And I interviewed my aunt about my cousin who has autism, and he has a guide dog. So that was my first article that got published, and just because I brought the prop, I got this award for it. So yeah, so that was in 2012, and then last year I followed it up and did the interview, but with my cousin, because he's now like 15 and he's progressed so much more socially that he was able to do an interview with me. So like it was just like how the dog has impacted, but like in the space of 8 years in the difference, because I think the dog was retiring from his job. So like those, again, that's human interest, but because it's my family as well, like obviously it did mean that much more to me. But brilliant. Like,
yeah, that's a great story. I have to ask about Cathy. We discussed a few months ago about the Ahare River and its movements.
Oh yes.
So we'd like to know, Cathy. We'd like to paper chooses. We put the hard questions to the journalists. And who moved the river, Cathy?
Oh, I'm very sorry. There's like, you know, I have heard. I was on to Inland Fisheries and they are investigating it. But there's a lot on the ground now. You'll find a lot of different opinions flying. But I have a list of about 1 or 2 people I think who might have done that, you know. But I just have to track them down really and maybe doorstep them and see if they'll confess.
Okay. I hope you're not
that was a great story
as you were with the dinosaur. Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but the woman out there in Cahor, in Ahare, she's the same name as me. So every time I wrote that article, everyone was just like, "Why are you digging up the river?" And I'm like, no, like, and even I remember the first time that woman rang me, she was like, "Hello, I'm your alter ego," and I was like, never had one of those before. But yeah, she was just hilarious. She's great.
Yeah, gosh, like it's amazing to think that all these stories happen in this. Like, you need to generate new stories in a week. Like, whatever about, you know, with our podcast, we can focus on one. But like you have, I'd say it's like spinning plates a lot of time. You know, you can have the personal interest stories of maybe your cousin and the impact of the guide dog. You can have the river, and you can have the council meeting. Like, you must have to multitask anyway.
Oh God, yeah. Like, you know, and you don't really want to kind of say miss a chance. So if somebody rings you, you talk to them then, you know. Like the other day I had a phone call from Aisling O'Neill, you know, the Fair City star, and I've been trying to get her for ages. Obviously she lives in Gorey, and she rang me and I was just like, oh my God, lads, I don't have my questions. So I was kind of, like, I had the questions from ages ago, but obviously I've been trying to get the interview for ages. And I was just like, in the moment, I was like, right, well, I know the gist of what I'm going to say, so I just kind of had to go for it, because sometimes you just don't get second chances to talk to people, like. So yeah, just with that, like that can happen, and you might be in the middle of something else, but like I get kind of given out about it. But like we have these baskets, and I always have loads of different shapes open in the basket, and like the editor says to me, would you not just do a story and finish it? And I'm like, oh, but no, like I'm going to get a phone call from somebody else and I'll be in the middle of this, and I love that, like I love the juggling, like, but it's probably not that organized. But I don't know how my head manages it, but like, because God knows how many stories we do a week, and they're all different sizes, different people, and you know, you have to kind of, I suppose, set out with what you want to achieve with a story. That's always important. So once you have that lined up, it's just a matter of kind of, I suppose, getting the different pieces to get you to the end result, you know?
Yeah.
Do you ever have to turn stuff down? Like, is there any like local psychos that ring you the whole time? Like,
I try not to turn people down. I'll always listen to people, you know? But some stories you can kind of tell that's not going to work. But I always just beat myself up when I have to do that, because I hate saying no to people. I really do. Like it keeps me up at night, like, you know. And I remember one fella, he came in to me and he was writing a book, and basically he was having problems that the document wouldn't save, and he had to publish it on someone else's printer and all this, and it was just kind of a non-story. And I just had to say to him, like, listen, if you launch the book, if you finish the book, something like that, you know what I mean? We need something solid here, not that your printer's not working, like. And I remember having to ring the editor and be like, do you mind if I don't do this? And like, obviously the editor was like, obviously don't do it. But I was kind of second guessing myself, because I'm like, I just hate letting people down, you know? But yeah, so that kind of haunted me, even though it shouldn't, but it did.
Yeah. You've traveled a good bit, and you're obviously you're big into social media, and I was just wondering as well then, how does journalism figure in the age of social media, and how does local journalism figure in a world that, you know, is far more, what would you say, we're more interconnected globally, you know, so how does it remain at the heart of why does it still hold an importance?
Local journalism, okay. But it's, first of all, on social media end of things, like in ways it's a great tool, you know, because you can say follow a journalist that you really like, or you can kind of keep up as much as you possibly, you can turn on your alerts, say on the phone or whatever. But like, as in, there's other ways obviously that it's been negative too. And I think we saw that at the start of the pandemic, when say all this sort of falseness was being spread around, and nearly journalists had to kind of step up and say, listen, this is what the facts are. Like, I do think that with social media, like, there's so many different ways to tell a story now with the different platforms. I think that has to be embraced. Like, a news organization that isn't going to go digital first isn't going to survive, I suppose. And I think a lot of the time, like, local news in particular has been dragging its heels in terms of getting online and getting on social media. But I think that's finally changing, which is a good thing, you know, because we have to be where people are at. Like, journalism, local journalism, every type of journalism has to survive. And if that's embracing the online world, social media, like, our lives are online, people are dating online, do you know what I mean? As in, they're putting their lives at the internet's peril, if you want. So like, we have to do that too. But like, you know, just for me, I'm sure it's for a lot of other people too, like, you get so much in a local paper, you know, because it is once a week and there's nearly 100 pages usually. So like, even if you're consuming news online, you will always get more by getting the paper, because there'll be something that maybe you didn't look at. Because I think a lot on social media and online, you can just focus on what you want to read and what you like, which is grand. You can do that in your own time. But I think you're missing the bigger picture then if you don't consume something that you didn't intend to consume.
Yeah. I like reading the paper as well, like, not reading digitally, because I like it's more intimate for some reason, I think. Yeah. I read like a 5-year-old as well, so I follow the words with my finger. So and so I feel like more involved in it, like, so to speak.
Yes.
And if it's there, like, it's always in my house, like, no, with like plugging or whatever, but like the Gory Garden has always been in my house every week.
Yeah.
As long as I can remember. And I'd always flick through it and I'd see, like, first of all, am I in it? Second of all, is there any funny photos? And the third is, I know in it. So,
oh no, like, getting your photo in the paper, in the local paper, means so much. Like, even especially when I was doing that essay competition with Gory Youth Needs, like, even 2 essays mentioned that their pictures were in the paper for their birthday. And like, these kids were like, say 9 and 10. And I was just like, that's what it matters. Like, if these kids are like delighted to see the picture in the paper, that's it. Like, you know, and even with me, like, obviously, as you say, I'm not from Gorey, but if I get an article in the Wicklow People, I'll be delighted, just because, like, oh, you know, people in Wicklow are going to see that now. So it's ingrained in us, I think, as Irish people more so, that we want to see our community represented back to us, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, because you put us in the Gorey Guards recently, and it was deadly. It was class. Like, we put it everywhere. Like,
I know, I'm delighted now, lads. You're happy.
Yeah, we were.
It was an experience and a half, like the
it was so fun, like the photo shoot with her, and like getting the hands in and microphones and posing, and like
deadly. Did you get a good response to the article, lads?
Oh yeah, people loved it. Like, they got a lot of reactions on Instagram, a lot of likes, and people reading it and stuff.
You have that, or you also have, like, my grandparents probably finally understood what I was doing, you know. And you know, little things, you know, so that definitely,
that's important too, like, because like, the audience is just so broad, particularly with the local paper, excuse me. So I just think, like, you have to be able to tell the story in a way it needs to be understood by the end of it. Like, I think the worst thing a journalist can do is that you've read through an article and you're like, I don't know what that's about, you know, because they haven't done their job then, in my opinion, like, you know.
We haven't been able to explain what we do.
No.
Like, my own parents, like,
oh god,
general stuff. Apparently, we talk about general stuff.
Yeah,
they don't really know. But
I know the podcast's going really well, lads. So fair play to you. Like, you know, I want to see where it goes next.
We're
following him, Story Guardian.
But like, the experience of Ger Leacy taking our photos, well, like, you know, I don't think I've laughed in a similar way in a while. You know, it was just it was hilarious.
It was great.
Yours half squat.
My half squat. He was having none of our messing anyway. I wanted to ask him to get a photo with the hat, and there was no way he was getting in the photo.
Pair of posers, he called us.
He
was oh really? He wouldn't shy now, you know. In fairness, he takes the job so seriously, like, and
he does,
like, sometimes I do say to him, like, you know, Ger, but then I realized that, you know, it's his passion, it's his profession. And I remember, like, sometimes if I'm out saying someone's covering for him, and like, someone might say to him, oh, can you get this picture in a certain way? And he'd just be like, here now. Whereas I know not to say that to him, because he'll know how to get the picture. Like, it's that'd be like him telling me you should write the article that way. You know, like, he wouldn't appreciate it, so I wouldn't do it. But I know some people might make that mistake.
The wall, and he was like, no, we're not getting it.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's right. You're interested in poetry as well, Cathy. Tell us about that. Do you write a bit, or do you read a lot, or what's the story?
I suppose it's a combination, really. Like, my degree was arts and journalism, so it was a nice little kind of combination. So basically, like, it's a 4-year course. So for the first 2 years, you do your arts and journalism together. And then in third year, we just did journalism, and we went on placements and all the rest. And then in final year, we just did our arts subjects and finished them off. So like, obviously, I was with the Galway Writers Society, NUIG. So, like, you know, I think I had an interest in poetry from when I was maybe 15 or 16, like, in school, but also we did like a creative writing module in TY, and I wrote a poem at that stage, like, and, you know, I think the teacher gave me an A for originality, and I was like, that's interesting now. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have described myself as original now. But so it kind of led from there, really. And then I went to Listowel Writers Festival, and like, obviously, you know, they've John B. Keane's hometown and all the rest, and like, you know, you're just getting immersed in it, and it's brilliant. And I love these kind of open mic nights and stuff where you can just go and listen to like authentic original poetry. So I suppose that's where it started. And then, like, it was something that I was doing privately. I wasn't bringing it anywhere. And then I suppose in college, I maybe found more people who were interested in poetry, like back in school. Like, if you wrote poetry, it wasn't something you talked about. Like, and I remember, like, that same teacher who gave me the A for originality, she picked me to be an ambassador for the arts festival. And I was like 16, so I didn't really know what I was at, but had to run this event called Cosmic Poetry. And that actually stood to me then when I was in college, because we had to run events all the time where you'd give people like prompts for writing. And like, my first year in college, I was the publisher in the Writers' Society. So we were putting together booklets. So I'd have to come up with different prompts and themes for the booklets. So people would have to write poetry or creative writing to that theme. And then I'd say, edit it and put it together. So then after that, like I was the chairperson the next year, and that was obviously busy. But then in third year, and like I had a bit more time just to do my own thing, and I ended up kind of going to the National Poetry Slam, which was ran by Poetry Ireland, and I represented NUIG there. Like, so, like obviously a couple of years ago I'd never thought about this, but it's something that I do. And even like my grandmother passed away there last year, and I wrote a poem for her funeral, and even like obviously it was an online funeral, but like so many people came back to me saying like, geez, I didn't know you were interested in poetry, and I'd love to get that printed. And you know, even we're looking at getting the memorial card done now, and I'm hoping to get the poem on it. And it's just like, it requires so much concentration, but when you have that creative moment, you can't really let it slip. And I think that's what maybe people just expect to kind of sit down and be able to write something, but like you have to have something that motivates you to do a poem, like, because it's very emotional, like, you know. Hope that answers your question.
Mark, yeah, no, poetry is interesting. Like Mark has tapped into his poetic streak.
I wouldn't say mine is more comedic than actual.
Oh, right, okay.
Like I do enjoy it, and I used to do it, like I do it for fun. I'd be sitting in work when I used to work in an office, and I'd be writing poems and sending them to people. And and I do it. I used to sit down once a day. I'd write a poem. There was a period of about 3 months where I just write a poem a day, and I have one recently I haven't read on the podcast, but it's all sort of very simple rhyming systems, and I just find words that rhyme with other words, put them in order, and it's fun for me. It's fun to play around with these words and stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, like, because that's what it's about. I think journalism, poetry, like, as in, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not passionate for it, don't do it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Yeah. It requires a discipline as well, but just to get back to the essence of it, like Avian's one, that was a beautiful one. You know, like
my
your niece, I
wrote her a poem.
Yeah. It was.
Oh, that's what we did. Sorry, yeah, we send poems to people who sign up for our Patreon as well. Yeah. So if anyone's listening and wants a poem, just sign up to the Patreon.
No way.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear some of your poems now. Do you know, we'll have a little writer session.
Oh, I'd have to get in touch with you because I don't keep copies. I just write them and send them off.
That's it. Yeah.
True artist.
Yeah.
Are you Ginsberg? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cathy, so like when you write poems, do you sort of have to schedule a time? Because I know your job is writing, so do you find it hard then, outside of your job, to do your job? Do you know what I mean?
To do kind of creative stuff, like
creative writing, and then your job like is writing. Is that?
Yeah, I know it can be heavy going sometimes, and like you do, as you say, you do have to be disciplined. Like even another lad who worked with us, he's in the middle of kind of writing a novel at the moment, and like those kind of NaNoWriMo things where you write for a month and you kind of sit yourself down and do 15,000 words, whatever it is per day. Like those are really key, because you just need to have your head in a different place, because it's different, you know. Like I kind of wish that I took the opportunity in the pandemic to do more poetry, and I think I probably will, but I haven't written since that poem for my granny's funeral, like, so it is that discipline, I think, of sitting down and doing and getting in a different headspace, like, because I don't know, I think for a lot of the time, like maybe you need to be kind of in a particular mood, or like I remember writing a poem one time at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think that was actually the one I did for the poetry slam, and it was called a political poem, and it was all about like a recent election and like abortion and loads of different mad stuff, and like that would have only came to me in that moment, like, because you just, I don't know, I think like a poem is like a build-up of things, so you have to be like in a particular zone, and I obviously wish that there was more, say, outlets, and I think that in fairness there are kind of more online communities at the moment where you can kind of join in with other writers, and I tried to go to a couple of them like in the first lockdown and stuff that were on Zoom, but I just feel like if you're not getting anything out of them, don't do it, because like your time is your own as well, like, so I would like to get back into it, and even as you say, the blog hasn't been very active, so that could be a way to start, I suppose, if I was going to concentrate that a bit more, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, like I have to say, I wasn't, when you start, we're nearly at the end of this cold shower campaign for 90 days, and we're not as reliable, but we're not as reliant on it all the time, but like we text into a WhatsApp group to say we've done it, and that simple stroke of accountability, that few seconds, it's unbelievable, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of these type of accountability groups crop up. I can see that becoming popular, because, you know, as you say, our time is precious. We don't have the time to maybe or the time nor the interest to meet in a monthly book club or monthly writers club. So maybe maybe accountability is the way to go, because
Yeah.
I would like to build that as a daily practice of writing. I think anyone would like to be able to find to nurture a discipline in it.
Yeah, definitely, because like the world we live in today is just, there's so many distractions, and I think like it's nearly that you have to kind of take a step back, like, okay, I'm going to turn the phone on to flight mode now, because I don't know about you, but like I get messages off loads of different platforms, and you're nearly just flicking from app to app to get to all the different ones, and you're like, I love my friends, but I can't keep up, lads. Do you know what I mean? Like I have friends from, say, school, college, work as well, and just it's just nearly that you have to kind of take your own time as well and not really apologize for it. So
not to brag, but like this is the advice I'd give.
Oh, good,
just, so I do that.
Yeah.
I wake up at 5 and I exercise, and then the phone stays on airplane mode from 8 o'clock the night before till 7 o'clock the next morning. So the first 2 hours of my day, I don't get any notifications. I don't look at my phone, so that I'm able to think for myself and figure my own stuff out, exercise, get my mind right, do my writing, do my whatever I need to do, and then the phone goes on, and then I can check and respond to stuff. So my mind is clear, and I have the hard stuff out of the way before I'm responding to anything. So that's just a bit of advice. It's just,
very helpful.
I think it's
first thing in the morning,
good advice.
Because it's just it makes it easier, actually, because you're not distracting, and then it's not like, oh, now I have to put the phone down, or like one more thing I have to look at. It's like, it's just right, and then now I can look at my phone.
So. Definitely, we're all guilty of it. I think as journalists too, it's nearly like, oh, we could update this, we could do that. Like I've seen it obviously happen, where you'd wonder, do people actually put the phone down at all, like, or is it just glued to their hand? Because like it nearly worries me sometimes when people kind of message you back straight away, and you're like, are they just sitting looking at their phone? And it's not just our generation either. Like I've seen it with, say, my mom's in her 50s, like, and her kind of friends, and older and younger too. Like, and I think as much as social media is a good thing, like we do need to take out those breaks as well, because like you can't be living in a virtual world either. Like,
yeah, definitely, because we spoke of this last week. I think it's constant advertisement. Like you're constantly being advertised to, and it's like it makes you feel less than. But if you actually put your phone down and look around you and see everything that you do have, you probably have more than you need in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's important to sort of take a break from it every now and again.
Yeah. Who's your favorite poet?
Oh God, that's a good question. Now, I love Thomas Kinsella, actually. I can't, like, I have a couple of his books and that. It's more Irish poets I'd be interested in now, but there's definitely a poet that performed at Joe Biden's inauguration. Like, I think she is only like 19 or 20, and definitely like the more people kind of see poetry or see it perform maybe on like an arts program, or like there's a good few kind of Dublin-based poets as well that are really, really good. And it's just like, as much as we kind of say the established people are who we look to, like even say like the kind of Seamus Heaney, W. Yeats, obviously I have loads of respect for them and everything, but they're writing about a different time. They're not writing about our time. So you have to kind of be able to open your eyes and look for new poets. Like Lewis Kenny would be a friend of mine, and he has he's done a good few bits of kind of RT and stuff. We did actually a lovely one for Mother's Day, seeing as it was just Mother's Day there. But if you can look him up, like it's amazing, like, do you know what I mean? And I think when people are talking about their own community authentically, like you can't deny that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Who's your favorite poet?
My favorite poet, who's your man who wrote the Green Eggs and Ham?
Wasn't that Seuss? Or
Dr. Seuss, yeah, he's my favorite.
Dr. Seuss, nice.
Who is my favorite poet? I don't know. I don't really know any poets. Probably rappers and stuff like that, but they're not poets.
Rap's poetry, Yeah. And I mentioned like Allen Ginsberg before, just when you were talking about your poems. If you want to look, I don't know if you've heard of him. I assume, have you heard of him? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Like he was involved in this movement called beat poetry, and it's kind of like a mix between rap and poetry. But if you have it look up, like it's just amazing. And there's I think there's a film about him as well. And it's just like what he was able to do with as in how he learned it off. I have no idea. Like his if you look at his poem, like if you look at his poems, it's more like an essay, but the way he performs it, it just brings it to life. And just look up Allen Ginsberg and you know what I'm talking about.
Just another, like, you've traveled to I was thinking through you've been at rake of places, haven't you? Like you've had the opportunity pre-COVID, obviously, to travel.
Yeah, I have. But I've actually never lived anywhere abroad. Like, so I think that's what I missed out, was not living abroad. But like before the pandemic, obviously, I would be getting up on Ryanair flights fairly regularly. Like, do you know what I mean? And I discovered kind of solo traveling, and it wasn't really something I would have done maybe when I was younger. But I met a lad in college, and he was a bit older than us, but he was in our class and he was in the Writers' Society with us, and he kind of said like he'd go solo traveling, and we all be kind of like, "Jeez, what is he at?" But you know, it is a way to consume the area, and like, you know, everywhere I've been, like I might say no to somebody and I was able to meet up with them for a day, or you know, go exploring somewhere with them. And like I went to Vancouver and I had mates over there, so obviously I stayed with them and it was fantastic. But after I think it was 10 or 14 days, I went down to Seattle by myself. And kind of for the first day or two, you're like, oh, you know, I miss my mates. Why did I leave them? But then you kind of say, like, listen, I'm on my own journey. And that's what you do. So did that, went to Seattle. And then I flew over to, let me think. Sorry, I'm trying to think what way I went. Yeah, so I went to Chicago then. And like, Chicago was crazy. Like, and I was nearly like nervous being over there, because I think on the first night I heard a gunshot and I was like, why am I here by myself? And like, then like you kind of get used to it, and I think it definitely builds your character. And then on the last kind of trip of that trip, I went to Toronto and I went to see the Niagara Falls. And when I was kind of going on that trip, I met two girls that were also like solo traveling, and even we still have a group on Instagram that we chat to. I heard from one of the girls there the other day about the interview with Meghan and Harry, and like I haven't seen her obviously since we were in Niagara Falls together. So like it's brilliant. I think it's definitely a way to maybe put yourself out of your comfort zone and see what happens. And so I look like, even I was meant to go to Malta last year, and like I think my mom bought a ticket like a week before we meant to go, but I was going to do that myself as well, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know why, like it's as in, obviously if mates come with me, that's fine, but it's still another way to do things. Like,
certainly, yeah, it's more natural, and you get to see the world from your own lens.
You can do whatever you want as well. You're not worried about, oh well, Mark doesn't want to go look at the art museum today. He wants to go
definitely. It's good. It's definitely a good way of doing things, but like, you know, I wouldn't say one is better than the other as such, you know.
Yeah, reminds me of, remember when we bumped into Shakira on the beach in Kilgorman? Kilpatrick.
Yeah.
We were later on the beach there in the summer, and these two
Spanish ladies were living in a tent on the beach, and we interviewed them, and they told us their name was Shakira, and I don't believe her.
Oh,
no, I don't think their name was Shakira.
I'm sure there's other people in the world who are called Shakira that aren't to be Shakira though. Like, it's probably like a popular enough name.
Yeah,
she said
like, there's plenty of Rihannas walking around. You know, I'm sure there's one in our own town here. Like
Rihanna.
You probably know Rihanna, do you?
Oh yeah, we know Rihanna.
Exactly.
No, but there's a local Rihanna, all right.
Local Rihanna.
The Rihanna from the Rock, or Rihanna from the Rock.
Jenny from the block, Rihanna from the Rock.
You've experience with the journal as well. So Cathy, like, what are the hopes for the future? Are you hoping to become an editor of a national establishment? Are you going to blaze your own trail for?
Blaze my own trail. That sounds cool. Yeah, I suppose, like I say, you know, I've only ever really lived in Ireland, so I would like to see how journalism is done, I suppose, elsewhere. But I think with journalism, like your context and, you know, who you know and all that is actually, it's really important. As much as I wish that it wasn't, it is. So I think I'm going to kind of establish myself here anyway, and then see about what happens next. Like when I was 16, I wanted to write for the New York Times. So I suppose that childhood dream, I will hold on to that. Like, but it's like, I don't know if you know it yourselves, but like when you're writing, you get like so much self-doubt as well. But you know, you can't kind of lose sight of, you know, what you're doing either, because from my experience with all different jobs, like I know I will be all right with wherever I end up, if you get me. You know, you have to have trust in yourself too. So like, I love Gorey, love Wexford, and I've no real intentions of leaving, like, but I'm also like, there is a restriction there too, that you can only write about North Wexford, and it has to have a North Wexford angle and stuff, whereas that can be limiting. And you kind of, as in, when you get the local angle and you can do the story, great, but like I hate when you get to a dead end of a story, because you're like, I've wasted my time, I'm disappointed. But like, you have to be able to, I suppose, dust yourself off and get going again. But it is hard now, having to kind of know that you can't do that story when you want to. Yeah.
Well, I hope you continue to silence that inner critic. And if I can say something, I normally end with a bit of a compliment to our guest. And I have to say, one of the things that strikes me about you, Cathy, is you're a terrific writer and a very good knowledge of grammar, because you can tell when someone knows they're
Really?
there from there and that type of thing. So,
thanks.
so
Yeah.
I commend that, because that's a skill that you don't. It's a skill, you know.
Thank you.
Speaking of skill, this man was pretty skilled, Cathy. I crossed the line by Liam.
Okay.
And this man, we're going to pick a page from this book.
Cathy, would you like to pick a page number between 1 and where's the last page?
288.
288, yeah.
Liam Dunn's autobiography by Damien Lawler, a fantastic sports journalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 213.
Ooh, I haven't had that one anyway.
214, 213. Okay, so we're fighting with the county board 1 minute and ourselves the next. We need enthusiasm for this now. The buzz has gone out of us and the setup is a stale, but it's down to us to get Wexford back on top.
Oh,
ooh, that's a good one. I like that now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liam.
Well, I hope that one day you even write a book, Cathy. So
thank you.
yes.
I'll give you the first copy, lads. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you may have heard me on Paper Tuesdays at the time.
We'll write the forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. As long as I can get a free hat, you know, I'm happy with it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see about that.
I said the plug for the hats there.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Cathy, and thank you for the write-up. It was great, and it was a great help to us, and we really enjoyed it. It was a great day out, if anything.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate it.
I know, deadly. I'm really glad you decided to allow me to do that. So, because I say when we were talking at the time, like, you were on my list for a while, and sometimes that list now people can go down the bottom, and I was trying to make sure that that's what happened to you. So yeah, just as you say, there's so many stories a week, like you kind of have to prioritize as well, you know, but I think we got it right anyway.
We were about to have a scandal to get ourselves in the paper. Breaking Paper Tuesdays. It's
like Inception, like, you know, because obviously Paper Tuesdays got its name from the Gory Guardian, so
yeah,
that was something.
So we've got our fame from the Gory Guardian.
Exactly.
Here, the two worlds have collided for two people in Australia at the moment, so we may as well give them a fine shout out to our loyal listeners, Nathan Doyle and Catherine Merrigan. So tell us about the experience of writing that article for them there last week about them.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, I've been friends with Catherine since secondary school, you know, and like even before they left for Australia, obviously, like, I was hearing loads about this Nathan fella, and we never got to meet, unfortunately. But the first time we met was doing that interview. So even I kind of said to him, like, I wish we were meeting on non-work terms. But yeah, no, like they've been kind of having a tough time at the minute. So I was delighted to just have a chat with them and get that article done, and even kind of obviously we arranged it beforehand. And just like, obviously I do talk to Catherine on Zoom a lot when she's over there, so it was just nice to kind of do it together. And even obviously when she saw it being over there, it's a connection to home, and she thanked me so much for it. She was kind of like, oh, you know, the fact that we were just having a casual chat and you're able to write that, like, you know, it means something when friends are happy, like. So yeah, no, I love them. Like, I'm so glad they actually introduced me to this podcast, so I have a lot to thank. You know, they've really changed my life. I know.
Good stuff. Cathy,
thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Not to bother.